Hi, I'm Chike Coleman from the Wheelchair Watcher and Sound On Site. That's Chuck Koplinski of the Illinois Times, and this is the Real Reviews
And the News Gazette.
Cinematic Underground. And yes, I forgot the News Gazette. I always forget to tell you about the News Gazette.
Yeah. That's a Freudian slip of some sort.
Yes, it is, definitely.
Maybe not so Freudian, but go ahead.
And this is the Real Reviews Cinematic Underground, the show where we talk about movies that are out now and on DVD. This week, we're going to be talking about one film, and then we got a lot of news to cover with the Golden Globes and the Oscar nominations that happened this week. So the movie we're talking about today is The Imitation Game, which stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Keira Knightley, and I forget the other guy, the tall guy.
Mark Strong.
You said
Mark Strong is in
Mark Strong is in there. Charles Dance is in there.
Charles Dance is in there.
And
I know who else you're talking
there's
about.
There's a tall guy.
Younger guy.
The tall younger guy whose name I can't remember. He's on The Good Wife now. The Imitation Game is basically about Alan Turing, a mathematician and professor, hired to break the German code so that they can intercept the messages and hopefully win the war for England. Most of the story takes place between 1940 and 1951. Is that correct?
Yeah, something in there. Mm-hmm.
And talks about Alan Turing's journey from humble mathematician to master codebreaker. And the interesting thing you should know about Mr. Turing is that he is very much like Sherlock Holmes, very blunt, doesn't really do social cues. His only important thing in his life is his work. And it's interesting that they got the actor who played Sherlock to play Alan Turing because it's absolutely perfect casting, in my opinion. This film, in my opinion, is incredibly moving.
Matthew Good.
Matthew Good, that's right.
He's also in Watchmen.
He's also in Watchmen. I love the pace of this film. You would think at the beginning that it's a bit too slow and you want things to move, but no, really the story just builds over time. You get little pieces and bits of Alan Turing's life when he was a child, and you see how the different little unique quirks that Turing possesses kind of form over time based on the little snippets that you see of him in school, his relationship with Keira Knightley's character, just how he goes about doing his work to try and save England, quote-unquote, from Hitler. It's a really remarkable performance by Cumberbatch, something that I did not expect. The Cumberbitches, as they're called, will be very happy that he does so well in this performance. And it's definitely a film that I think deserved its Oscar nominations. Chuck, what did you think of The Imitation Game?
You're right about how initially you think, oh my God, this is going to be a long slog here. But then you recognize the pattern and the rhythm of the film that it adapts, as you say, going back and forth in time, into the future after World War II, back into the past with his prep school days. And once you catch on to that rhythm that they adapt, it really flows. And it's a film that gets better, I think, the second time. I've seen it twice now, and once you understand that how it's structured, you pick up other things along the way that second time. But the first thing he says in the film is basically, don't believe everything that I tell you, or don't believe everything that you hear.
Yeah.
And once you know that, then of course you can look at the whole film in a different perspective as well. And I love how the film works on different levels. I love the title of the film, the Imitation Game.
How many things that really represents.
Right, they're trying to break this imitation language that the Nazis are using. He has to put forth an imitation life because he was a homosexual in a time there when it was illegal. So nothing about that is real about him. And even the Keira Knightley character as well has to adapt that a little bit as well, not as much as him.
Yeah.
But it is very telling then about what he says about the truth and not really believing it all, because so many things in the film aren't what they seem. Such a smart movie and such an engaging film from that point of view. And then, as you say, just such a tragic movie as well.
The thing for me, they don't really address his homosexuality in the forefront of the film until the very end.
Well, it's before the end, but
Well,
it emerges.
very close to the
It
end.
emerges.
It emerges, and by the time it emerges, you're just like, oh God, just you're rooting for him, even though you basically hated him through half the movie for his attitudes and the way he treated people. But he softens throughout the movie. He kind of goes on a journey of his own.
Well, we get to know him. I think that's a big thing. We're in the other character's shoes, and once we get to know this guy and understand his quirks, yeah, you're right. We soften towards him.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but when we got to the future,
right,
past all that happened and past
his final fate,
his final fade, with Keira Knightley's character returning,
yeah,
my heart just broke.
It's devastating. It is really devastating.
My heart just, I didn't know what to do with myself once the credits rolled.
And it's interesting, the police officer who is in that section of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how we were introduced to this. He's responding to a charge that's made against Turing, and we don't really know, but as that develops, his point of view is interesting too.
His point of view is interesting too, because in my mind, I feel like as Turing's telling the story, he's like, oh God, what massive mistake have I made?
Well, he becomes us. It's revealed to him as we get it revealed to us. And yeah, he comes to recognize that the government blundered where he was concerned.
Yeah.
And what a tragedy it was. This kid, this Cumberbatch guy, he's going to end up being typecast if he doesn't watch it.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
Because as you say, the Sherlock thing, this thing, even to a certain extent, Khan in the Star Trek film, this iciness, the remote characters that he's playing. The kid needs to do a comedy real fast, or a western, something as far away. Yeah, or a musical, something. He's got to do something else real quick.
Yeah,
just to kind of give us a warmer side of him.
Distance himself from the social anxiety persona that he often portrays.
And I'm not sure that, I know he's signed on for the Doctor Strange role. I'm not sure that's going to do it for him, because he too is separate within the Marvel universe to a certain extent.
I feel like he'll still be remote as that character.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to praise, and we sort of talked about this in our top 10. We didn't really address it.
Well, this made both of our top 10 lists.
Yeah. But the idea that Keira Knightley, someone who burst onto the scene in Bend It Like Beckham, and then made her name through the pirate films, and in my opinion, the thing that really broke her out for me was Domino. Oh. Domino and Begin Again were the two things. And I want to tell the audience this. Those two films that I just named are far between in spaces of time. They come out way away from each other.
But before Begin Again, you forget about a film that we both loved. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Yeah, that too. So she's had this sort of slow climax to being one of the actresses I want to see most. And her performance here, just the way... Okay, I have to spoil something for the viewers. Keira Knightley's character in this film is not only smart and incredibly capable, but she's incredibly compassionate, despite Turing's actions and personality quirks. And I think that's what makes this film even more rewarding for me, is to see the way Keira Knightley approaches every situation that comes up in this film. You have the ending, of course, which is heartbreaking, and the way she basically renews her friendship with Turing, and the time in between where Turing decides to do something that I didn't think he was going to do, but is commonly done within those circles of differential sexual orientation. And man, just the idea of acceptance and being understood is something we all really basically want. And I haven't seen it displayed so clearly in a film since The Imitation Game. I haven't really seen acceptance and the need for acceptance based on the persecution that someone faced, other than maybe Philadelphia.
That's a good correlation.
Being one where acceptance should be granted to someone despite the fact that they're different, because this person was different and they were brilliant. They did so much for society in terms of saving millions of people. And what shocked me most was that post-credit text, that it took almost 60 years for Turing to be pardoned and for his work to truly be recognized.
Well, and this whole division, the Enigma division, him and the people who worked on this with him, I mean, that was kept under wraps as well.
Yeah.
For many, many years. I think it was 40 years after the war, it was finally revealed of what they did and who was part of that. Just a fascinating story, and really, this is one you're gonna go back and watch. This one it has legs. This one will be one remembered. I just looked up his upcoming films. One drama after another.
Oh God.
One drama after another.
You know what he needs to do, and you're gonna laugh, but you're probably gonna agree with me. He needs to be in a Seth MacFarlane picture.
No. No one needs to be in a Seth MacFarlane picture. No one.
Oh wait, so you're saying you didn't like Ted?
Ted was okay. But any good feelings he engendered with me and Ted were ruined tenfold by that piece of crap Western he made me sit through.
Yeah,
which was
I know.
God awful.
Do not see that Western film. It's horrible. So I want to go on now to the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes came out this week, and they're often a predictor for the Oscars. Although, when we get to the Oscars, we'll have a tirade of our own to go on. But what did you think of the Golden Globes this year? We had Mr. J.K. Simmons winning for Best Supporting Actor. We had Mr. Michael Keaton winning for Birdman, and I loved his speech. Did you get to...
Yeah, it was well done.
Oh my gosh, that speech was great. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, they've stopped being funny to me. I don't know what it is. I really think that the Golden Globes would benefit from different hosts, because they've had the same group of people for 3 years in a row.
You're going to get your wish next year then, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely, because this was their last time hosting. What did you think of the Golden Globes? Were there any surprises for you?
No, there never are. It's the Globes have become almost the anti-award show, because I think everyone's much more laid back. There is this sense that even though you might know how the awards are going to turn out, what's going to be said on stage or what's going to happen is a bit unpredictable. And I think that's the niche they've found for themselves, and they obviously promote that a great deal. And that's one of the reasons why I like watching the show. You mentioned Keaton's speech.
Yeah.
A nice human moment that I really enjoyed. But I had the impression that Ricky Gervais was even auditioning to get his job back when he came out to present one of the awards. He was all himself there, and I know people had problems with him at times, but I thought he was great. I mean, there was truly more so than with Faye and Poehler a no prisoners mentality there. He was going to flame everyone, and you better be ready.
I love how he's so light about it.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh.
Well, and the other thing, because everyone knows that's the tone of this show, everyone has to have their sense of humor hat on that night.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at any of this. And you see these people, I think, a bit more human than they are. The highlight for me, and this is because I like the guy so much, was the George Clooney award.
Yeah, definitely.
Not so much his speech or the presentation, but the film montage that they had put together. And not just of his film clips, but the other work that he does, the humanitarian work he does. I thought was really well done.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And very much deserved. It's a fun show to watch. I don't take it too seriously. I don't think anyone really should. But it was interesting to see, and as you say, it's a predictor of probably what's going to happen at the Oscars. But what's interesting is that you said Keaton wins for Best Actor in Comedy, but then you have Eddie Redmayne winning for Best Actor in a Drama.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen Theory of Everything.
We'll see how that kind of plays out in a month or so to see if there's an upset.
And
brewing.
Amy Adams for Big Eyes, really?
Well, again, see, there's where you get into a problem when you start separating into a comedy musical category. I mean, if you've got a hard time filling 5 spots for an actress in the drama, then you've got to come up with 5 more spots in a comedy or musical. I mean, you're depleting the pool.
Yeah.
And Miss Adams is a very talented actress, obviously. But Big Eyes was really, I'm sorry, nothing to write home about. And that's why she wasn't nominated for an Oscar.
And I'm nervous about Meryl Streep being nominated for an Oscar.
Nah, shouldn't be.
Again.
Shouldn't be. Well, they can't do an Oscar show without her. You know that. So she's got to be there somewhere. But she's not going to win.
Oh, I hope she doesn't.
She won't.
I really hope she doesn't. The other thing I want to say is the Bill Cosby jokes were just really pointless. I was like, if
No, they weren't.
Oh, come on.
They were perfect. Come on. No, they had to be done.
They had to be done.
Elephant in the room if you don't do them. How else would you approach the subject?
I would start with the general fake out of Bill Cosby's in the news again. Everybody wants your cups, something like that. Something that works like.
Oh, nice, good. I like that. Yeah, yeah. You didn't like the fake imitation?
No, it sucked. It was really bad.
If they could have gotten Kenan Thompson in there.
Yes,
that I would have.
See that? Yes, yes.
And I'm surprised. I'm not a regular watcher of Saturday Night Live. Have they done anything with this with him?
Oh, they have, and it's great.
Okay, I'll look it up on the YouTube.
It was so great. I'd seen it for the first time when they mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that's genius. They should have had that happen. But overall, I wasn't really that impressed with the Golden Globes. I really wasn't. I was surprised when they chose Best Foreign Film for Leviathan. I think that was the name of the one.
I wasn't. I mean, I was rooting for Ida, but Leviathan has gotten just incredible write-ups across the board. So.
All right, so now we're going to go into the Oscars. The nominees for that were announced this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say this without just spitting it out. This whole ceremony is BS. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous that Ava DuVernay, who directed Selma, no nomination. I understand why you're saying Damien Chazelle doesn't deserve it, but Ava DuVernay, none of the cast from Selma was nominated, really? I don't understand that. The only thing that Selma got nominated for was Glory, the song that they played at the end of the film, and Best Picture.
Mm-hmm. I can explain this.
Okay, I want you to go for it because I'm too angry to say anything.
Yeah, I know. All right. First off, the crowd, the director category and the actor category are too crowded this year, and that's not an excuse. Okay, you're right. I think she deserved to be nominated, but the crowd was so dense this year. Even David Fincher wasn't nominated, and you could have thrown him into those five just as easily.
You could have, yeah.
I mean, Eastwood, maybe, but Fincher belonged in those five.
Yes.
Just as she did. And I think if you put those two in and take two of the other nominees out, you could have just as good of an argument as to why they should be in as well. 5 slots isn't enough this year. 5 slots isn't enough for the actor award either this year, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could take out any of those two guys, throw in the guy who played Martin Luther King, throw in Chadwick Boseman for James Brown.
Please do, yes.
Throw in Jake Gyllenhaal.
Nightcrawler, yes.
They would all be deserving, but then the other 3 you take out, you could argue for them too. Here's what happened with Selma. And no one's mentioned this yet, okay?
And I know where you're going with this too.
Okay, tell me.
The screeners were not sent out in time.
You bet.
For the people to actually vote on the film.
You got it.
Simple enough.
It's simple enough. Paramount Pictures dropped the ball here. And even though it might not be fair, Academy members, most of them wait for the screeners to be delivered to their house, and that's how they see those movies. They don't go to a movie theater. They wait for the thing to be delivered, and you know this.
Yes.
You know this. I got my screener for American Sniper 5 weeks before the film came out. Okay?
Okay.
Selma showed up on my doorstep January 6th.
Which is after the date it came out in theaters.
Right. So they blew it. Okay, they blew it. How then does it get a Best Picture nominee and not get anything else? You have to remember that a Best Picture nominee is easier to get than a regular nomination since they changed the rules.
Yeah.
Right now, all they have to do is 5% of the Academy members have to put on their ballot that they think Selma is the best film of the year. That rounds out to approximately 270 votes. So if you look at people who worked on Selma who belong to the Academy, people who are at Paramount Pictures who belong to the Academy, you could probably cobble together 270 votes and get this thing nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Which then leaves all the other categories. You have to have other people watch the film, and I just don't think enough people saw it. Again, injustice, you bet. Maybe some racism, you bet. But I think there are a lot of other factors that went into it as well, and I think that really Paramount is the one who blew it.
I would agree that it is Paramount's fault, and I would say the same thing for the Lego Movie.
No.
Why was it not nominated?
Again, you've got to remember that within those categories, you have those people nominating. Actors nominate actors. Editors nominate editors. Animators that nominate animators or animated films. I think the animators said, look, Lego Movie, you already got your award at the box office. And if you look at the nominated films, they're highlighting 2 old-fashioned, hand-drawn animated films. And I think that as craftsmen, they want to shine the light on those films and get those smaller films noticed. I think that's what happened there.
Okay, what snubs did you hate for the Oscars?
I really, other than the Selma thing, which was obvious, I didn't think there weren't any real snubs that got me too upset. I thought the big winner that morning was Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
That movie was left for dead. I mean, if you go back and look at any news stories or newspaper articles leading up to this in which people predicted things, that thing was
nowhere near.
Nowhere. I mean, no one was mentioning it. And that tells me that that film really struck a chord with people. For Carell and Ruffalo to be nominated, they really impressed the other actors. For the oddest nomination, I thought, was that Foxcatcher was nominated for Best Director, Bennett Miller, but the film wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that tells me the directors who nominate directors were very impressed with his work, but the Academy as a whole, who votes on the Best Picture, they just didn't warm to the film.
I was happy to see that Wes Anderson got a nomination for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Long overdue. I mean, he's been nominated
Dear
3
God.
times for his writing, and now for direction. And for that film to get 9, here's my snub. There you go. For that film to get 9,
Yeah.
and Ralph Fiennes not to be nominated.
Oh, when
He
yeah.
drives the film.
Yeah.
You know, and again, there we go back to that actor category just being too crowded. You could throw him in there and not have an argument.
I wish Wes Anderson had been nominated for Moonrise Kingdom, though. I love that film so
No, I know
much.
you do. I know. But, you know, he's been nominated for his writing, and it's about time for his directing. They got that right. I'll give them that. They got that one right.
And I was happy to see one Studio Ghibli film on there again this year. I don't know if it's going to win. I doubt it's going to win. I think How to Train Your Dragon 2 will take it.
Yeah.
But The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which, have you seen that film?
I have not. I've seen clips, but again, this is what I like about that animation category. More people now are going to see it, now that it's nominated, than would have.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
I was thrilled to see Whiplash put in as Best Picture.
You bet.
I don't think it's going to win.
No, it doesn't.
At all. What do you think is going to take Best Picture, though?
But you know what? He's got a shot at screenplay.
He's definitely got a shot at
That's the only one he's
adapted
got a shot
screenplay,
at.
Yeah.
What do I think he's going to what?
What do you think is going to win Best Picture?
Boyhood. Boyhood. Unless there's some sort of hue and cry with Selma and people rally around this thing to supposedly, you know, correct the injustices, there could be an upset there. But Boyhood, I think it was the best film of the year on my list, so I think it should be the winner.
I would agree that Boyhood should be the winner, though I'm still feeling quite moved by the Imitation Game, and I do love Whiplash. I mean,
It's a strong crowd this year.
it really is, and we were expecting it not to be a strong crowd. I don't think when we started the year we weren't seeing,
Well,
other than when we heard of Boyhood, we weren't really expecting anything.
you know, and I know they do this all the time, but it seemed this year, more than other years, they really did hang on to things, and everything in that last 6 weeks was a rush. I mean, everything
Yeah.
that ended up being on our list and nominated, just boom, 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 which is kind of a dangerous thing. I mean, because
It really
there
is,
can
because
be
you're
an
in danger of
overload.
forgetting. Yeah, you're in danger of forgetting other films.
Right, and the thing is, you know, they could have nominated up to 10, and only 8 were nominated, and you could probably name a couple others that should have been in there. And you know, this is another thing that I've said for years. That the Academy needs to do to separate themselves from all the other awards show. You need to show me the vote total.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about this for the last 3 years.
You know, if it takes 267 votes to be nominated for Best Picture, I want to see how many did Foxcatcher get? How close did it come? How many did Lego get? it might have had, nominees for actually Best Picture of the Year. I'd be curious, how many did it get in that category? How many did Selma just squeak in? Give me those vote totals, because then that puts much more light on what's going on.
And I want to say this is also an odd thing. Selma is I think about a 99-98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's true, but critics and the Academy, can be
Unheard of,
worlds
though.
apart.
Unheard of, though.
Worlds apart.
From what I know about Rotten Tomatoes, from what little I know, that's unheard of. Also, for the Champaign-Urbana community, which I know other cinephiles will be fuming at this, Life itself was not nominated.
Yeah.
We know it was a good documentary by Steve James.
I wonder how much of that is backlash against Ebert himself.
What would the backlash be from?
Maybe too many thumbs down over the course of his career to people in the Academy. I know it could be petty, but
I didn't even think about that. But you know what? It's incredibly possible.
It's possible. And the other 5 documentaries are nothing to sneeze at.
They're nothing to sneeze at. No, I still need to catch up on most of them. But overall, it's a weird year for the Oscars.
It's going to be. Here's what's going to be interesting is all the stories that are going to come out of this before the ceremony begins, because this is just starting. And I've seen so many things about it being too white-centric, not enough diversity, no females, not enough people of color. And this is, I think, going to reach ahead before we get to the ceremony, which is 6 weeks away.
Yeah.
So that's the story. How is this all going to play out?
I think that. Who do you think is going to get? You think Linklater's going to get director?
I think so. For taking on this 12-year project, keeping it all coordinated, seeing this through,
I think
you have to.
I think the punch in the gut's going to be Inarritu.
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to win Best Screenplay.
Is that you or me?
That's me. His award's going to be for screenplay.
Okay.
You can't give screenplay to Boyhood because really dialogue-wise and story-wise.
Not that strong.
No. But I think Inarritu. Birdman's a brilliant piece of writing.
Okay.
That'll be his award.
Let's hope he does get that one. If he does.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I'm interested in is cinematography. Roger Deakins was on there this year for, I think, was it Inherent Vice?
Inherent Vice, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen that yet, but I know that that's a great film, and that's one I want to review next week.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking like, no, don't do it. Don't bother.
I didn't like it, but we'll talk.
Okay.
I was surprised. I don't know who the gentleman was, but I'm surprised that whoever did the cinematography for Interstellar wasn't there. And really, I'm surprised that film didn't get more nominations.
Maybe it went over everyone's head. A lot of people were, when I listened to, casts about Interstellar, a lot of people were like, I understand why this was the way it was, but it's way too hokey for me.
Yeah.
So that may have been an issue.
Well, I wasn't thrilled with it, but, it made a lot of money, and I know it was, it got more positive reviews than negative. So maybe justice was due there, because I think most of their nominations were in technical categories.
Yeah, that's what I remember. But I'm happy to see Whiplash got, what was it, sound mixing or sound editing? One of the two.
It was sound mixing, but it was also nominated for editing. And if there's any justice, it should win the editing award, but it won't.
It definitely should win the editing award.
I think it was nominated for 6, wasn't it? Which is really good haul for that film.
Mm-hmm. And that, like you said, is going to increase its visibility and may even push it to an earlier DVD Blu-ray release date. That's the other thing I like about the Oscars is that the movies that you really grabbed onto come out faster if they've got more of a push.
Or they get thrown back into the theaters. I know Birdman is going much wider this week and next week coming back.
Ooh.
So we'll see if they bring back Theory of Everything. That's not on video yet. Maybe Imitation Game will get on more screens.
Let's hope so.
Maybe Whiplash will get on more screens. it just played on our independent screen here, and that was it.
Yeah.
So
for
the movie I really want to see is Two Nights, One Day.
Who's in that?
Marianne Cotillard. She was nominated for Best Actress.
I haven't seen that yet.
Neither have I. That's the one I want to see.
I am curious about that. So next week, what do you want to cover? I'm thinking Inherent Vice.
Okay.
Because if we both hate it, it's going to be a real fun time.
And I want to talk about Paddington.
Oh,
next week.
I still haven't seen Paddington. I'm gonna.
You
do
got a
that
week.
I'm gonna see it this week.
Okay.
Because we have a 3-day weekend.
Mhm.
So next week we're gonna review Paddington and Inherent Vice. We will see you then. Bye, guys.